hmm Was a tough loss for the Raiders. But yeah, I'll just talk about it in the game and stuff moving forward. But tough loss. Kyler Murray uh, brought this team back from a 20-point deficit, and Raiders just couldn't finish the game. Um, Overall, there's many reasons for it, which I'll get into. But yeah, tough luck to be 0-2. Cardinals are now 1-1, so yeah, good for them. But to start off, the Raiders look good in the first half, and I mean, it like that's how they should have looked. Scored 20 points in the first half, and Carr looked really great. He was pretty good throughout the game, except towards the end, but don't know how much of it is his fault. And yeah, Carr looked great, a bit more decisive. But to give like an overall view of the team, it's a new head coach. It's gonna take Carr time to learn the system, learn just the language of it, and get used to it. And with Gruden, uh, it took him a couple years before he was just like a master of the system. And I think it'll take him time to master McDaniel's system too. It's always hard to do. Like when you look at some of the other QBs or teams, first year head coaches, like even Kirk Cousins struggled against the Eagles. Um, so yeah, you'll have those moments, and the team will get better. They'll learn how to finish games. Just a tough one though. Kyler Murray is a great quarterback. At least you could say you lost to two great quarterbacks. So yeah. And in the first half, the defense, Max Crosby was looking really good. Rocky Sin played really well throughout the whole game. Nate Hobbs too. That's why Zach Ertz had a ton of targets, and yeah, Greg Dortch had a ton of yards too. But overall, it was just a great first half and then just a bad second half. So Zach Ertz finished with 8 receptions, 75 yards. Murray, 31 to 49 passing, 277 yards, 1 TD, 1 interception. And yeah, just looking at the win probability, not great. Almost at 97% winning percentage. Ton of teams blew games this week. So that's not great, but yeah, this team, it's just a new, dealing with new coaches. And so with the offense, one thing that stopped them was it's kind of a good problem, but the O-line played better in run blocking. They struggled a bit on some pass blocking, and that kind of hurt the team. And so in the second half, the team was trying to be more aggressive and trying to put the game away. There was that one drive where they went 3 and outs, and they just did 3 passing plays in a row. And in one of those passing plays, the ball popped up and landed in a bunch of defenders. And there's just a bunch of miscommunications or just O-line getting pushed into the backfield for him. And so that was kind of tough. But at least they were trying to be more aggressive, which is not a bad sign. But it didn't work in this game. And on the defensive side, Crosby played really good in the first half, just constantly pressuring Kyler Murray. But in the second half, there wasn't as much pressure. Chandler Jones was a bit quiet. Like you just kind of want more from Chandler Jones too. And what they were doing is playing a bit more zone coverage, because when you do play zone coverage against a mobile QB, it's like having more spies because you have defenders looking towards the backfield, towards the quarterback, and watching the routes being ran in front of them. And so they're playing that a bit more, and it will lead to just Kyler Murray throwing short, throwing to Zach Ertz, and just driving the ball downfield, attacking the zones, because he couldn't just move around the pocket and make something happen. And it seemed like the D-line was playing a bit more contain, like a contained rush, but it just wasn't really working. Like they should have just kept pressuring Kyler Murray a bit more. And even if Kyler Murray beats you in the ground game, like that's better than him beating you through the air. And so that was kind of tough. It's kind of hard not to expect the Raiders to bounce back, play the Titans next week, who haven't been good at all. So should be an easy win. I mean, this was supposed to be a win for the Raiders, and see how that turned out. So yeah, and with the Cardinals, just had a couple of receivers injured. Rondale Moore's injured. Saw DeAndre Hopkins out, who's going to come back at some point. I mean, this team could be better. It's going to be all up to Kyler Murray. Defense, like the defense isn't great, but Vance Joseph has done a lot with not much. And we've seen the fumble caused by Marco Wilson at the end. So, yeah, I mean, they're missing two cornerbacks too, missing Antonio Hamilton and Trayvon Mullen. But the Cardinals played really well in the second half. Kyler Murray is just really good. Really good scamperer. And I think, man, some of the passes he made, like the one to Marquise Brown, where a defender was just in front of him, and he caught it with one hand. That was just a great pass. Had a couple of just crazy, great passes in this game. And he is hard to stop. But it was a great win for the Cardinals and Cliff Kingsbury. And yeah, I mean, it's a young team, or it's new head coaches, new coaching for the Raiders. Some other coaching units struggled, like you had the Ravens in the second half to the Dolphins. Defense struggled, have a new defensive coordinator, and Eagles struggled. I mean, the Vikings struggled against the Eagles. And so yeah, I mean, this is gonna happen with new coaching staffs. There are gonna be some struggles, and it's gonna suck. But if you just bear with it, we could kind of see like where it goes to. But it's not too worrisome for the Raiders. They're not trying to win this season. A lot of the players have 3 years on their contracts, so the window is about 3-year window. And I mean, you don't want to be a bad team, but I think they'll bounce back. And yeah, I mean, you're just building for next season. They still have some holes and spots that are question marks, especially on the O-line. But I mean, we'll see how they deal with it. And with the Cardinals, I mean, 1-1, already starting pretty great. Yeah, and I think it was like double XP weekend for Call of Duty, or the beta came out. So maybe Kyler Murray, I don't know, maybe he's getting some of his film study in while playing the game. So yeah, just a tough loss for the Raiders and great win for the Cardinals.